Hi, I'm Anthony Wilson, Public Information Officer for the City of San Angelo. On September the 5th, our City Council selected Daniel Valenzuela, the City Manager of Eagle Pass, to be the next City Manager of the City of San Angelo. His first day will be in early to mid-October. During his interview process, we had an opportunity to observe Mr. Valenzuela and to speak with him, and we'd like to share some of that with you now.
Councilman Alexander Daniel Valenzuela.
Five rooms, and in those rooms we have divided the two participants here tonight between the public, board and commission members, business and civic community.
Daniel Valenzuela. That I believe is
We'll go ahead and get started on our next session here. Have candidate Daniel Valenzuela here from Eagle Pass, and he's going to address y'all just briefly, and then y'all can ask him questions, and he can walk around and y'all can visit.
First of all, I want to thank all of you for being here. It's my tremendous honor to be here to speak to you. It tells me a lot about you to be here in the evening. You know, when a lot of times, you know, you want to rush home and spend time with family. That tells me you care a lot about this community, and that means a lot to me also. I will tell you that I've been doing this, as far as the city manager, this is my 8th year. And I've learned a lot about San Angelo through a lot of the research that I've done. But you know what research, you can go online and read up, but you never get a true taste of what San Angelo really is till you're actually here. And I brought my kids, and we had an opportunity to drive around yesterday. We had an opportunity to stop and eat and talk to some people, some of the citizens, and I'm very impressed with the kindness. I think that that is something in a community that you always want to look for. I put God first in my life and everything that I do. Family comes second, and service to others, values to me that are just so very important. And that's something that is the focus in my life. I know that coming to San Angelo, I see a lot of that here also, that the values are here too. I didn't mention earlier that in Eagle Pass, where I'm from, I've been a city manager for 4 years now. We do have a Native American tribe there. One of the things they do, rituals, is a rain dance. So when I get back, I'll make sure that we get We need water, yes. I know that in addressing water, I know the city council at this point, Hickory Aquifer is something that they've looked at. I think that there's been a lot of planning going along with that too. You know, there's some concerns that have been brought up about the quality of the water and so forth. But trust me, when I look at the city council and what I researched to this point, they wouldn't ever do anything that would damage this community.
What are your thoughts on retaining employees?
It's a challenge to keep good people in those positions. And a lot of times you look at those employees and they want to run off the oil field. I think that one thing that as a community that we need to do also as a city is to make sure that the jobs may not pay them as well, but they also have to understand that there's certain benefits that come along with that job also. But we also have to be responsible for making sure that the staff member feels good about the work that he's doing. Does he feel like he's a bigger part of the city? Does it feel like just a hand? You know, I've always said that you don't just hire the hand, you also hire their minds. Allow them to participate in the decision-making process.
It was a new idea that was presented, and somebody said, well, we've been doing it that way for 30 years. You ever see a general manager blow his hat through that window? It happened. Just because you've done it for 30 years, is there a better way to?
You know, there's no reason, and I hate, that's one of my pet peeves to hear, well, we tried it like that and it didn't work, or we've always done it that way. I've always demanded of my directors that they come up every month with at least 1 or 2 new innovative ideas that they can implement in the department. And in our city, we have 12 total departments. That's 24 new innovative ideas throughout the year. Well, I am a West Texas boy. I grew up in Fort Stockton, born and raised, graduated from Fort Stockton High School back in 1985. I love West Texas. It is something that you drive back into the area and you really feel back at home. I do have a wife of 23 years. My sons, I have a 22-year-old and a 13-year-old son and a 21-year-old daughter. It's
It's been a challenge to say the least. Raising a family, but it's also been an absolute blessing, and I've been blessed with wonderful kids and a wonderful family also.
Why do you think that this particular job would be a good fit for you? What is attractive about it?
The community itself, growing up as a child, we'd visit a couple of times. Coming to San Angelo was always a treat. I've always admired this community, and in looking into the prospects as far as the position itself, I realized that there's a lot of great things going on in San Angelo. I think you have great leadership as far as elected leadership, and there's just a lot that can be done within a community like San Angelo. A lot of communities talk about being progressive, and you definitely want to be progressive, but very few really are. And I really do see it here in San Angelo with the leadership, that they're really trying to progress this community, take it to the next level, and I definitely want to be a big part of that.
How so? I mean, what in particular do you think you could do for San Angelo?
I've been a city manager for 8 years now. I know what it takes to get staff to work well together. I've always preached to my directors. I have a way of management that it really depends on the respect, the mutual respect between staff members. I always tell my directors, the way that I treat you, which is always with kindness, dignity, respect, and thoughtfulness, is the exact same way that I expect you to treat your staff. When you do that for your staff, and I'm not just doing that toward my directors, but directors and supervisors toward the staff also, you start building up a culture of an organization that really cares about each other, staff that really cares about each other, that becomes more like a family. And you have people that are motivated. Really, if people are happy working with an organization, that also, the citizens benefit from that also, because the happier an individual is with the work that he or she is doing, it'll reflect also in the treatment and the way they deal with the community. And that to me is really important. Customer service is really, really important to me.
Mm-hmm. Aside from maybe interpersonal relationships, what are some of the other strengths that you think that you would bring to this job?
My organizational skills, project management, making sure that things are accomplished the way they were planned. One of the things that a lot of communities do is they do a lot of planning. And once they finish the planning process, they've set up all these steering committees. They finally develop this wonderful plan, and they put it on a shelf, collecting dust. And one of my strongest suits is taking those plans and making sure that they're implemented and on target, and making sure that if it was important enough to plan for, it's definitely important enough to make sure that we complete what we set out to do. So that's something that I feel is one of my stronger suits, is my organizational skills, and also making sure that staff really does stay on target with the things that we're responsible for our citizens.
Talk about your experience in Eagle Pass and what you feel are some of your successes there.
Eagle Pass, moving into Eagle Pass, I tend to jump into city management positions at times when there's usually either some type of crisis going on. Eagle Pass, I showed up during the Great Recession. It was just starting off, and the economy, as far as revenues, were declining. And it was a challenge to start off with. I know that initially we were actually struggling to pay our bills. We were having to hold on to bills when I first arrived there because we didn't have enough cash in our accounts. It was really important to me to make sure, and I met with my finance director and other directors to make sure that we built a very strong financial foundation, that first year, to make sure that moving into the future, we had the monies necessary to really operate and provide the services necessary and to cover all the infrastructure projects that we had to do. It was a challenge, but it's also been an absolute blessing. I know that looking at Eagle Pass, it's gone through a lot of changes. There's great projects that are ongoing at this point. We actually doubled our fund balance, which is incredible. That's your rainy day fund, and that's something that I'm so thankful to the staff for the hard work that they've put in. Wonderful people in Eagle Pass, and I've really enjoyed my stay there as far as the city manager, and I think that it's, as I mentioned a while ago, just a blessing.
Well, how did you go about doubling your fund balance? Was that a combination of cutting expenses and looking at your revenue?
Definitely, and those are two very important areas, of course. You always want to look at your expenditures to make sure that you're really running as efficiently as you possibly can. All the departments, we did a study to determine the proper staff size for a lot of the departments. With any municipality, the biggest expense is going to be in your personnel services. I mean, your personnel. Normally, it'll range anywhere from 60 to 80%. It's pretty high. So that's one of the areas that we tackled initially to reduce that by 9.3% as far as staffing by attrition. We didn't lay anybody off it. We just determined what the right size was, and we got it to where it needed to be. We're also doing things more efficiently in all the departments. We looked at the Lean Sigma concept to make sure that we were really studying all the different processes in all the departments to make sure that we really shored up any areas that would be waste, that we eliminated those also. We took a I took a very proactive approach, of course, to working on the budget, making sure that every line item was justified, that it was zeroed out, and you proved to the city that this is actually a line item that's an absolute necessity. Not based on the trends of the past, because anybody can pretty much prove that, well, in the past 3 years, this is how much we spent. Yeah, the past 3 years status quo, doing business the way it's been done. I want to make sure that we're doing it as efficiently as we possibly can to make sure that we're giving back to the citizens much more in services with the monies that we're entrusted with.
So is that the sort of approach that you would bring to a budget in San Angelo, even though it's obviously a much larger
definitely, there's definitely ways of doing it. I do understand that the community Eagle Pass is 27,183, but we do service an area in the ETJ around 50,000 in population. And the weekends with shoppers that come in from across the border, we actually swell to about 100,000 in population. So we're definitely offering services, that require us to provide for a larger population. But yes, I know that with a smaller community, there's not as much hands-on that you would have. There's certain things that you would delegate out, and you would have to entrust that you have staff, directors that are supposed to be experts at what they're supposed to be doing. You have to believe that they know and they should be doing what they should be doing. Or you have to make sure that they get the proper training to make sure that they're doing what they should be doing also.
What do you know about San Angelo's water situation?
I talked about visiting this community when I was younger. I remember it being a lot greener. And I talk about that with the citizens that I met. But I do know that water is very serious for any community, and we want to make absolutely sure that we have enough. And I think that definitely the City Council administration has taken the proactive approach to making sure that we diversify, or the San Angelo diversifies its water source. Right now with the Hickory Aquifer, the 60-mile water line that will be coming in, I know that that'll address a lot of the need for water here in this area, but I also know that the City Council and the administration would be looking for other ways to diversify, to make sure they secure more water rights. And again, I think that the Council has been very proactive, the administration has been proactive in doing that at this point.
Is there any more that you think San Angelo could and should be doing in order to secure more water supply?
Well, you can always do more, and I see that at this point. And in speaking with the City Council, I know that they're doing the best that they can at this point, and I do know also that diversifying is something that's important for them too. So I've always taken the perspective, in just about anything that we do for a city, is you can do more in every area, and not just what we're talking about right here. I've always believed in every department and any services you have, you can actually improve on that. With water, that's a service that is provided. That's something we definitely, can do more with, and that's something that definitely the City Council and I know the administration beforehand had been looking at. So, sure.
Do you face any similar water issues in Eagle Pass where you are now?
No, we've been very blessed. We do have surface water that comes from the Rio Grande, and at this point, that isn't a major issue. I've always been able to customize, of course, my abilities to the needs of the community that I enter, and this really depends on the situation. I have, of course, managed over water plants, the water lines, sewer. Those are areas that I'm knowledgeable in, and again, as a city, we're responsible for so many of the services that we do provide. But that is something that we're very blessed and fortunate that we're not having to deal with an Eagle Pass. But it doesn't mean that coming to San Angelo, if I'm selected for the position, of course, is it's not something that right away I wouldn't focus on. That's something that would be an absolute priority in making sure that we get that addressed.
What do you think you might be able to do to help economic development and job creation in San Angelo?
You know, one thing that through my research of this community, I think the community has done a lot. I see a lot that's going on in the downtown area. There's been a lot of talk about the ports to plains, you know, and it really is a viable option for this community. It's located in a perfect location, you know, to see this multimodal transportation of merchandise coming in from Mexico or Canada. I see that coming from Eagle Pass, we're a member of the Ports to Plains. I have connections, of course. I've gotten to know a lot of people in the area, people in Mexico, the leadership in Mexico also. There's, you know, a possibility that we could look at investment, even investment in this area. You know, there's business owners, businesses up there in Mexico that are actually looking at the United States as a viable option for investment. There's been a lot said about the violence in Mexico, certain things that are going on up there, that some businesses have had to close their doors, and they're looking for opportunities elsewhere. And definitely here in San Angelo, I see some opportunities. We definitely want to make sure that we look at the local business owners and local investors. You know, for example, the need for warehouses in the future if this does happen as far as the Ports to Plains. That is something that San Angelo would have to take a look at. But my experience working in that area, I think, would definitely would be an asset, you know, for this community.
When you think about municipal government, what do you think the priorities for municipal government should be?
Well, the priority, first and foremost, you know, as the municipal government, we have to earn the public trust. You know, there's just no way around that. And the way you do that is by showing, you know, the community needs to be able to trust in the work that you're doing, that the community feels that the monies, the taxes that they're paying is being put to good use and as efficiently as possible also. You know, that is something that I take very, very seriously. The community, and I look at our citizens, all they want is the best for their families, for their kids, a bright future for this community. And that's something that we as administrators, the elected leadership, should take very seriously. And I do see that, of course, here in San Angelo.
What have you done to ensure investment in capital improvements in the places that you've been before, and particularly street maintenance, which seems to be an issue here in San Angelo?
Sure. Well, you know, the thing about street maintenance, and right now we do have a solid program in Eagle Pass. It's actually a 7-year plan to get all the streets redone. When I first arrived in Eagle Pass, that was something that was neglected. And you had to be really careful. Sometimes you want to save money in the short term, and you kind of put off maybe some maintenance projects. The problem there, of course, is 3 or 4 years down the road, that maintenance project now turned into a nightmare, because now you're having to reconstruct a street at a cost it's much more than the actual maintenance itself. My experience there has been to plan, make sure that the monies are available, you know, to continue with the project, not just this first year and the next year we don't have money. You have to make sure that the monies are allocated and make sure that enough is coming in to cover those projects.
How does a city manager ensure efficiency in a budget when it comes to those large capital improvement projects? You
know, you look at waste, you look at anything that could be deemed as not running efficiently. There's different studies that can be done. I know that I've used in the past HR directors that, or HR director also that knew the lean management, Lean Six Sigma principles as far as studying the different processes to make sure that we're doing everything efficiently. I've also been very fortunate that I have staff in Eagle Pass that do a lot of the projects, you know, asphalt overlays, things that normally in some communities are outsourced. We actually do them in-house because we do have the skilled staff that's trained to perform those duties and responsibilities, and they do a good job of it. That's something that we could look at even in San Angelo, as an opportunity to save money, but continue with the street program. Again, I do have good experience there as far as the infrastructure improvements.
You took a tour of the community yesterday.
Yes.
What did you see that impressed or surprised you the most?
It's a beautiful community. What impressed me is you can tell that there's a lot of pride. You drive around, especially for a mid-sized community like San Angelo, to see a lot of the lots as clean as they look. You can tell code enforcement's been doing their job. There is some pride in that, and that also comes from the leadership up, to code enforcement. That, and of course, driving in the downtown area, I don't recall the downtown area looking the way it does now. You actually see people walking and shopping, and that's a wonderful thing to see. A lot of downtown areas died back in the 70s and 80s as communities expanded outward. They neglected their main street or their downtown areas. And I see a refocus on that, refocus on history, and bringing businesses back to the downtown area. And I would love to see a lot more of that. I think that that's something that San Angelo could really shine at and really bring more tourism to this community.
What do you think are the greatest opportunities for growth or improvement, either within the community or maybe within the City Hall organization?
I've always said that improvement, I've always been very demanding with my staff in a very respectful way. There's room for improvement everywhere, even some of the areas that I think are my strongest points, as far as a manager and a leader, I feel that I can always improve in those areas. The same thing with all the different departments. I always feel that there's a way to improve everything. As a whole, as a community, I think that in looking at what's been done at this point, there's a lot of heading in the right direction at this point. We just have to keep that bus pointed in that direction and keep going there. And it involves a lot of planning and making sure that we're following through on our plans too. So again, as far as improvement, there's improvement to be had just about everywhere.
Have you thought about what your first act as city manager would be if you were hired?
Sure. Yes, my first act is getting myself acclimated, of course, to the organization. Before I'd even arrive, of course, I would do a lot of research to make sure that I was very well versed on ordinances, very well versed on the planning that's happening here in the community with a comprehensive plan. There's just a lot that I would like to kind of brush up on before I even show up here to hit the ground running. But first things first, of course, is to make sure that you start developing that trust, with your staff and with the community also. And that's really important, I talked about making sure that we have the public trust. It's so vital and so key to everything that we do. But I also have to make sure that in order for me to be successful in what I do is to build the trust with the staff too.
How would you ensure clear communications with not only staff but with citizens? I've always believed that I make myself available to staff. I know that the community of San Angelo is a bigger community than what I've been used to. But it's just really getting out there and making sure that you get the information out to your staff, whether it's in the form of emails, if it's in the form of information that comes out from an HR department, in the form of a newsletter. There's different ways to get information out to the staff, and especially to the community too. They have to be kept well informed of the projects, things the city is doing at this point to make it better, improve the quality of life for them. Do you have any concerns at all about coming from a small community like Eagle Pass and a small organization like yours to something that's much larger?
Not at all. I'm a organizer and planner by heart. I know that I can make the transition, quite fine. I know that I have a lot of trust in my abilities. The good Lord blessed me with some skills and talents that I feel very blessed to have, and I know that I could make the transition. As far as managing more people, I don't believe that'd be an issue whatsoever.
Is there anything I didn't ask that you might want to say about yourself? Or
Sure. I do want to mention that as far as priorities in my life, this is something that I truly believe so wholeheartedly that first priority in my life is always going to be God, and secondly, my family, and thirdly, of course, is service to others. And that's the attitude and the approach that I always take to everything that I do. As a matter of fact, every morning before I go to work, I say a special prayer to my good Lord. Basically what I say to him is, I dedicate this day to you. And everything that I do today will be to honor and glorify you. And that means that if I'm doing my best for God, I know that I'll be doing the best also on the job. I'll always keep in mind that I have that watchful eye also. So I want to do my best for the citizens also. And it's reflective of that. And the values are very important to me. Values in the organization are very important to me, to make sure that we have a process where we can really develop that. So that's something that's going to be very key.
All right. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, I am so thrilled to be here standing for you guys today that, you know, over the past couple of days, we've interviewed 5 tremendous applicants, you know, and it wouldn't have been possible for the firm that we hired, SGR, search firm, Alan Taylor. Amazing, amazing. This was our first rodeo, so to speak. And he made it very, very, it was a smooth transition. You know, it was just something that we just took on one day at a time. But after 2 days, tremendous, I mean, awesome applicants. We did come up with the name of Daniel Valenzuela at the very end. And we feel that we are making the right move. We could have gone any other way, but you know, Daniel came up to the top, and I think we're going to be fine. And I think we're going to move forward. And I hope this is a shot in the arm for the city, for the staff, you know, that need that support right now. So we're here for them, and we heard voices here and there of what they were looking for, and I think we made a very, very good choice. So.
Do you want to talk just a little bit about why Mr. Valenzuela is the best choice for the job?
I believe that in all areas, I mean, the passion that he brings, even his previous position at Fort Stockton, Eagle Pass, he takes a budget in whatever city it was and turns it around. They were a couple of months away, for example, one of the cities was a couple of months away from bankruptcy, and the man came in, turned it around. So that's what we're looking for, you know, just somebody that can take the lead, somebody that can show us the leadership skills that he has, and, you know, that he's learned along the ways. And I know he's going to hit the ground running. There's a little tweaking to be done, but that's fine. You know, it comes with the territory. So I think all in all, he just showed what he's made of, and I think we're going to be very, very pleased with him.
Mr. Valenzuela?
I'd like to start off with a quick statement, of course. First of all, I feel very honored and very blessed to be in this position. I thank the city council members for giving me this opportunity. As I had mentioned to the council members during my interview, this has always been a community that I've admired. And to be given the responsibility of leading this hardworking staff that we do have, it's something that I take very seriously, and it's something that I do guarantee you that we'll do our best work. The citizens do deserve the best we can possibly give them, and that's exactly what they're going to get from us. Now, if you have any questions, I guess I'd be more than happy to answer those.
Yeah, what would you say are your top priorities as city manager? What do you look forward to getting to work on most?
Of course, one thing that I've heard numerous times in the interview process, and also with the public that I met with, I had the pleasure of meeting with yesterday. The biggest question that kept coming up, of course, was the water. There is, of course, the Hickory Aquifer. We have a water line that's running 60 miles in our direction. That's going to be a top priority, of course, to make sure that everything arrives here as scheduled. There's a lot, of course, that I want to establish as far as the working relationships with my staff. I want to make sure that I initiate that as soon as possible. And of course, start working, especially with the public. We're here to serve. I'm definitely here to serve. And again, just very thrilled and very excited about this opportunity. And I look forward to working with everyone.
Do you see any major changes that might come up in the future, or? I
will analyze the situation as far as with the city. I definitely will be looking through currently as far as the budgets that have been produced. And I'll take a look at it. I'm not going to, of course, make any drastic changes at this point. It's prudent for me to make sure that I analyze carefully the current situation with the city. I feel very blessed that we do have good leadership in the elected position also. I feel really good about the direction that this community is going in. I hear a lot as far as progressive communities, and it almost becomes cliche. Everyone talks about how progressive they are. This community truly is, and I look forward to working with a group that has nothing but goals to move the city forward.
Mr. Valenzuela, all applicants concerning to the water issues, but you have something, other project to implant to in San Angelo?
My priorities, I've always looked at staff as being the most valuable resource that any organization can have. And that's something that I want to start focusing immediately on is the staff. And I know that anytime there's a switch, there's a changeover. I know Harold Dominguez left a few months back. Staff, there's always a question. The people are wondering, what's the next step? And I just want to reassure the staff that I'm coming in here. I'm not looking at shaking things up immediately, of course. I definitely just want to make sure that I come in and connect with everyone and make sure that I hear what their thoughts are, what concerns they may have that I can address also. So again, I'm gonna be very careful. I'm not coming in to step on any toes. I just want to make sure that we come in and start working together immediately.
You understand too, San Angelo is the multicultural community. So what you like say to the Hispanic community?
I'd like to tell the Hispanic community, pues me siento muy orgulloso de estar aquí, de representar a la comunidad de San Ángel. Y es algo que para mí va a ser muy importante que pueda representar a los ciudadanos. Y es algo que voy a estar aquí con mis puertas abiertas. Y si gustan entrar a hablar conmigo, aquí voy a estar.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate that.
And what is what do you see as the role of the city manager, and how do you intend to lead within the city of San Angelo?
Good question. The role of the city manager is twofold, actually. You mentioned leadership. It's leadership and management, and it's helping guide the staff, of course, in the right direction. And a lot of it is the organizational skill necessary to make sure that we take the necessary steps to plan, make sure that we come up with action steps, and move forward. I want to make sure that our directors are well equipped, they have the resources necessary to do their job and do it well. And that's something, again, that I'll be focusing on immediately.
When will you officially be in office?
I understood it's the October 17th? 16th. October 16th will be the first day.
And as far as the people of San Angelo, what effect will this have on them, on the residents of San Angelo, with a new city manager and you coming in?
Well, the effect, I'm hoping it's immediate. The thing with city management, and I'm new to the position, I definitely want to make sure that I can start building trust with the community. I do want to let the community know that my priorities are very simple. As far as my values, I put God first in my life, my family, and service to others. And that's something that I take very, very seriously. Service to others, of course, means to our community. And I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure that I represent the citizens the best way I can, and know that they have good representation. Aside from me, of course, you have an outstanding council in place at this point that they're here to do the same thing. We're looking forward to working well together and progressing with, I guess, as mentioned a while ago, the projects that we have coming up and other projects in the future.
There is not a question, but a suggestion. So you like presenting, introducing your family with us, with this community, please?
Absolutely. My first of all, my wife Connie is not here. She is actually in El Paso right now with her business. But I do have my my daughter. This is Shanae, and my son Daniel Jr. is a bit timid and shy, but he's stepping up here. And to me, this truly is a blessing to be able to accept this position, this great offer, with my family present. As I mentioned a while ago, God, family, and service to others, and it's just so important to have my family here right now to support me, and they have been very supportive. Aside from the little arguments I get into every once in a while, it's okay, but I love the fact that they're here with me and supporting me.